Morning. So week 7 in the books. So what did we learn? Well, I guess for me, I'm kind of seeing things a little more, a little clearer in terms of like being able to pick games because more games are played, the easier it is it's becoming. There's less data left and more data already in our rearview mirror. So I feel like I'm kind of getting a pretty good hold on who the 16 teams that are going to be in the playoffs, as well as basic pairings, but as far as what else we learned, Winfield beat Ripley, so that was a 15-point win. You get your 12 base points plus your 3 bonus points from the 3 prior victories by Ripley. They also picked up Winfield, picked up 2.2 points for a 17.2 week. Those other 2.2 came from a 1 point from South Charleston beating St. Albans, and then 1.2 points because Princeton beat Greenbrier East. I guess that's a kind of a good thing. I don't know. I mean, in the sense that it keeps the possibility that Winfield and Greenbrier East their point totals could be pretty close together, and who knows, maybe they'd end up even playing each other in the playoffs if things work out a certain way. Hoover had a bye. Nitro was over Lincoln County. That's kind of a push because that's a common opponent, so they're going to get the point either way. Come after they beat or after they play Nitro. Hopefully they beat Nitro. Shady beat Liberty Raleigh. That's nice because that's an extra point there. They can get they go down and beat Shady like they should. McGoffin County, Riverside, and Point all lost. Now I'll show you something else I've done. I didn't post it here or didn't do a video with it last week here, but I did post it on my X account. So if you follow me on X, what I did is I gave you my weekly projection, weekly predictions, and in terms of like before Friday's games, what I thought the standings or what everything would look like, the rankings would look like after this. So I'll just give you about a 10-second glimpse of that, so you can see in the red it's where I missed those games because I try to predict the games in the blue where whether or not I think those teams are going to win or lose. There were some teams with byes, of course. The biggest one I missed was Kaiser John Marshall, who I had that game in reverse, so I obviously have missed on both of those teams. But again, like a 10-second glimpse, and then we'll go into screen share, and there's a couple of things I want to show you in addition to obviously showing you what my end of season predictions are in terms of who the teams are they're going to make it and how they may be paired up. All right, so sharing my screen. On the left, you see the total points as they are after week 7. And so my theme for the week is going to be kind of comparing schedules. And I've been doing it for a while now with the Team A, Team B thing. Team A playing, the smaller school schedule, 2 single A, 6 double A, 2 triple A, and then Team B is playing, all 10 games against triple A or higher, which 6 of those games being against the 4A, the 4A teams. But basically, I think everybody's going to figure out who those 2 teams are by now because Chapmanville is Team A because they're still undefeated, so they're one of the 3 teams still undefeated. And you can see how Spring Valley, who is Team B, has jumped them, even though Spring Valley lost this week to Bridgeport. So, that's Team A, Team B, and again, it's all about the scheduling as far as they're concerned. Let's go ahead and scroll over now to look at the thing what I think everybody wants to see, and that is what my projections are for the year end. And like I said, I think that the top 7 schools are pretty well set. I think that those schools, Princeton, Bridgeport, Fairmont Senior, North Marion, Nitro, Spring Valley, and Hoover, that's not necessarily in that order. It could change, but I do think that they are the 7 that's going to finish in there. I do think Greenbrier East um, has probably the best opportunity to also get a home game. Um, could change. I guess if something kind of quirky happens. Yeah, but I think that's how that'll work out. You know, in the red is the percentage, the green is the total points. And the numbers are exactly the same. You move the decimal over 1 point because everybody plays 10 games. That's how you get the, you know, that's why I've always stressed about total points over percentages at this point. Um, I have changed my my thresholds for getting in down a little bit. So 105 points for getting for just getting in. Um, the rest of them are basically the same as far as top four, top eight, top 12. Um, you see in the middle, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself because obviously Winfield has spring, I'm sorry, Shady Spring this week, but I did because I was asked to go ahead and include the if there was a victory over Nitro, what would change. Um, I'm not giving the total points in this, not that it matters, but this is how I would see things working themselves out. You know, barring Hoover losing to Frankfurt or something, I would see that Hoover would be six playing Kaiser, Nitro would be playing Capital, and then Winfield going to Greenbrier East if Winfield were to upset Nitro. On the right, the blue is the maximum minimums. Some of those on the bottom, like I have Nicholas County down 108.6. I don't think that's realistic by any means because I'm just simply putting that in there to illustrate that you have a guess they still have a mathematical chance, but I just don't think that's a realistic chance. So that's where as far as those go. Like I said, I'll just do a couple comparing schedules. Um, I'll just really quickly show you Princeton and Bridgeport, and you see that they're only a point apart. And I'll go ahead and just show you Bridgeport. And basically, it just comes down to that opponent's wins, and so there's a bonus points because the base points are set. If you win all 10 of those games, they're going to get 126 base points. The number that sits below is 108. The reason why that is there is because for all I do that for my own self because if they beat uh if they when they beat a team, that team gets 10% of a number of their base points, but you don't get credit for when the opponent that beats you beats a team lower than AAA, nor do you get credit in a sense. I mean, you do get credit if they beat a 4A team, but you only get that worth a AAA. But anyway, that's why that number's there. Right? But again, the base points are set, and the bonus points are the ones that can kind of fluctuate whether or not one of your opponents wins or loses certain games, and hence the 1 point difference between them and Princeton, where you see Princeton's numbers there. Okay, so that's it. So the other one I want to do is I wanted to compare Winfield and Capital. Everybody knows Winfield's schedule. Yes, you can see my predictions for win loss, but you can also see my predictions for the bonus points. The strength of schedule points are basically set in stone. Those are not going to change because I've got those worked out that that's what those are going to be. The bonus points could change. I have Lincoln County with a 0. Hopefully since they play St. Albans this week, they win that game. That would give one extra point to Winfield. Um, but that's basically how that works out. McGoffin County sitting at 2. That's what they have now. If they were to win an extra game, that would move up. But anyway, that's what that is. But I also have them at 7-3. And the reason why I wanted to show you that is because I wanted to show you the difference between them and Capital. Capital is I have them losing their next 3, Spring Valley, GW Nitro, which would put them at 5-5 on the year. But you see their base points and then the bonus point situation. The big one is if you look at Oak Hill right there, which is which was the seventh on this last week of the season of this past week, I should say, of the season. And you see that Oak Hill netted them 21 points because because well yet to net them, I should say, because Oak Hill has not yet gotten all 6 wins, but I do project them out to win 6 games. All right, so that's what the difference there is, and why Capital at 5-5 would have a larger point total than Winfield at 7-3. Okay, so let's go back real quick and just kind of just quickly go through my bracketology I've been doing. These are the teams that I feel like are out. Uh, Not much change there. Technically, some of them are mathematically eliminated already. Some are not, but again, based on schedule and relative to everybody else, I think they're out. I changed the bubble to being currently just out. Like for instance, South Charleston. Yes, they have a chance. I mean, they definitely have a mathematical chance to get in, and maybe they can sneak in. I don't know, but they're going to have to win this week against Riverside if they're going to keep their math together as far as getting a chance. And then again, here's my contenders. Um, I will be moving up those locks to get in this week. I'm sure after this week's games, there's going to be a few more teams going to be put in locks. Then you can see the other ones likely in and in the mix. All right. So the last thing is I'll show you my week ahead predictions. Like I said, I posted these on X last week, and I'll show them right here. Um, and I just give you, you can see in the blue, that's where predictions. Nitro has a buy. They're the only one with a buy this week. I'm looking at it as you're looking at it. And I have, again, Capital with a loss. Elkins, who plays no, I'm sorry, Pikeview. And I see Elkins and Pikeview, and Pikeview he plays Bluefield Wednesday night. So I have them losing. I have Elkins losing it, and of course I have the bottom three losing: Ripley, Brooke, Lewis County. And I probably shouldn't even include them, but I did. Like I said before, I think there's only about 18 teams. It, and if I didn't say it, I'll say it now. I think there's only about 18 teams that really are vying for 16 spots at this point. All right, so that's it. So let's just kind of wrap things up with just talking about this week's games. We'll just talk about Winfield in terms of what their opportunity to pick up points from both a victory over Shady as well as their opponents. Can they pick up points from their opponents? And then we'll kind of maybe go through about 6 games I think or have some significance in the AAA division.
Okay, so let's wrap things up by just going through this week's games real quick. Obviously, Winfield is traveling to Shady. Shady is a AAA school worth 12 base points, and then they've won 2 games, so that would be a 14-point victory. Shady also has a game next week against Berkeley Springs that I already predicted that they would win. You can probably see that on the Winfield sheet that I was showing there. So hopefully, not only do they beat Shady this week and get the 14, but then Shady will bounce back and give them one more for the 15. Lincoln County is at St. Albans. I think I just said that hopefully Lincoln County beats a winless St. Albans. So that's 2 winless teams. Somebody's going to get a win there. I'm hoping it's Lincoln County. Ripley is at Hoover, rooting for Hoover because that actually gains them 1.2 points if Hoover wins, over 1 point if Ripley wins. It's the way that system works out. I've talked about it in previous videos, but anyway, Riverside South Charleston, common opponent game, so it's basically will be a 1 point for Winfield either way, whether it happens after Friday's game with South Charleston winning or later down the road after playing Riverside. McGoffin County is at Pike County. I'm hoping, but my hopes aren't super high for that one. Nitro is a bye. Marietta is at Point Pleasant. Marietta is also winless, so let's hope Point can win a game and give an extra point, no pun intended, for Winfield after they play Point Pleasant. Princeton is at Woodrow. Yes, we're really rooting hard for there because that would be another 1.2 points going to Winfield with that one. Other games, like I said, I think have some significance. Elkins is at Fairmont Senior. I'm picking Fairmont Senior. Greenbrier East is at Nicholas County. That's kind of an elimination game for Nicholas County, meaning if they lose, they're done. I mean, I already think they're done, but they're really done. Greenbrier East is who I'm picking. Kaiser is at Allegheny, Maryland. Apparently, this one's I'm picking Kaiser. that's who I made my pick for. But my understanding is Allegheny, Maryland has beaten Kaiser. I guess they're a yearly opponent, so they beat them quite often. So I mean I don't know. We'll see how that works out. I don't mind being wrong, to be honest with you. Capital at Spring Valley. Like I told you, I think Capital is going to lose their next three, so I picked Spring Valley. Bluefield at Pikeview on Wednesday. I'm picking Bluefield. Brook at John Marshall, another kind of elimination game in the sense that if Brook loses, they're done. Again, I don't really like their chances now anyway, but they're done. And so I'm picking John Marshall. All right, so that's it for the week. We'll see how things turn out Friday evening, Saturday morning when I run the numbers, but that's pretty much it. And hopefully we even a little more clarity at the end of this weekend. All right, thanks.